lot of commentary, a lot of content out there about what you might see in the market. So there's a lot of content that I'm coming across, and you probably are too, about tariffs and volatility. Well, that's good. I'm not here to expand on any of that for the moment right now. But what I want to do is offer two things that you should definitely not do, which I think is valuable. I think there is merit in knowing what to do and also what not to do. So, as somebody who's coming up on retirement, maybe within the next 5 years, now forgive me for a moment for just assuming that that's still on the table, but let's assume that you weren't 100% invested in equities and you have some kind of a diversified portfolio, and you may not be down, for certainly the full extent of the S&P 500 right now, but perhaps, this still looks, feels, smells, tastes like a regular market decline of the 10% or so that we tend to experience about every 18 months or so over the last like 70 years. Okay. So I'm just want to set the stage a little bit. So, two things that you should not be doing. The first one is tinkering with your investment mix. Don't go selling 100% of your positions, whatever they are, to go to cash to wait for some time to begin investing. When you do that, you're practicing what's called market timing. By hitting the sell button on your investments to wait for things to get better, what you're doing is saying, I, first of all, know something about the market that millions of market participants have overlooked. Okay, so you're thinking that this has to continue to go down. So I will get out now and wait for it to go down, and then I'll just buy back in when I get the all clear. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So let's suppose that you were lucky enough to sell and the market did continue to go down. Congratulations. You have gotten half of market timing right, because for this to work out, you still have to buy back in. You can't live the rest of your life with your retirement nest egg invested in just cash or bonds. It's probably not going to work out because we need the power of stocks and their ability to increase earnings over time to beat inflation. So that's where most of your growth is going to come from as a retired person, because you probably have 2 to 3 decades of life beyond whatever your retirement date is. So you're going to need to lift your income beyond inflation. You will continue to experience inflation as you age and as your portfolio, as you're withdrawing from that. So you're going to need the inflation fighting power of stocks to help fight the increase in the cost of living. Your life will get more expensive, especially as healthcare expenses probably play a larger role in what you spend money on. Don't go making huge wholesale shifts to your investment strategy. It's probably not going to work out well, because going back to you getting it half right, you still need to buy back in. So the only way this works is if you get the future right 2 times. When I say get the future right, I mean predicting it twice. You get it right the first time when you sell out before any decline, and then you buy back in before it goes back up. Let's suppose you were lucky enough to get it right one time. Congratulations, you're a winner for the moment. But what we see over history is that markets recover faster than you can regain the confidence to get back in. So now you've missed the upside, and perhaps you're buying back in at elevated prices. So if you would have stayed invested and ridden that roller coaster, however painful it is, you probably would be better off just not looking, closing your eyes, whatever we want to call it. Most importantly, staying invested. You might want to consider some rebalancing along the way and just making sure that your allocation hasn't drifted too far from your original intention. I will concede that is something you might want to do. But as far as what not to do, don't go making enormous changes to the way that you're invested. Now, there are exceptions to this. This assumes, again, that you were invested appropriately for your goals, your timeline before you're retired, and your risk tolerance. It assumes that you were already doing that. So that's number one of what not to do. Don't go making big shifts to your investment strategy. Number two, don't listen to the fear to make big decisions. Now, this could be extended to making big changes to your investment portfolio. But what I'm really talking about now are the use of insurance-based products that a lot of times take the form of an annuity. Overwhelmingly, the annuities I have seen in clients that purchased them from somewhere else before they started working with me came from a financial professional that wasn't really interested in their holistic financial picture, whether the annuity made sense for what the client was trying to achieve. But I see a lot of times that they were purchased during bouts of market volatility. Unscrupulous people can kind of come out of the woodwork a little bit more when markets are really a little crazy because it makes people scared. People are more likely to make a decision that is driven by fear when they're seeing all red when they log into their retirement accounts and they're looking at, oh my gosh, I have to figure out a way to stop the bleeding. That's when some of these retirement products, financial products, investment products start to sound like a treatment for the pain you're experiencing. This might take the form of something that's described as crash proof or no market risk. If you're seeing things that are described, that's really, if you weren't in the middle of a temporary market decline, you would be able to easily write them off as scare tactics and fear mongering because you may be looking at your statements and investments online and thinking, oh, crash proof sounds pretty good, or no market risk, that sounds pretty good. These are probably not going to be great decisions for you in the long term. Now, I will say that I specialize in retirement income planning. So annuities are a tool and they can be a great tool. I want to be clear that I don't even sell annuities. And I think they can be, when used appropriately in very select situations, great tools. But that's not how most annuities get sold. Most annuities are sold and not bought. They are touted as this unbelievable Swiss Army knife of financial wonder that can solve all these problems for people. And it's possible that they are a great fit for your solution, your situation. But a lot of times they may be pushed by somebody who's really interested in making a sale, earning a commission, rather than somebody who, like me, is objective. My compensation doesn't change whether somebody buys an annuity or not. And that's my luxury of indifference, where my paycheck is not going to change one way or the other. So if you're interested in some objective advice about what's going on in the market, how it relates to you, and maybe there's something that you're considering, a big change to your portfolio, an insurance product like an annuity that you're considering and just wondering, does this make sense? But just in general, if you're wondering how to navigate what's going on right now, what it means, and also what kind of silver linings are available to you, market declines of this magnitude, they do offer some silver linings. For example, if you were considering already making Roth conversions this year, this is a pretty good time to do it because you can do them really efficiently when the market's down. If you had cash to buy the dip, well, great. Now you're getting things on sale. I might want to back up and say, make sure you have enough cash first. What does the road to retirement look like for you over the next couple of years if you're not yet retired? And then if you are recently retired, we know from the sequence of return risk that if you get bad market returns just prior to or just after retirement, it significantly increases the likelihood of running out of money. So before we go buying the dip with any cash, make sure that we have enough cash. Okay. I would welcome the opportunity to be the cooler head for you in your life and explain, here's some things that you might want to avoid. And here are some things that we can do to take advantage of the market decline, understand how we can navigate this, and hopefully have you retire on time.